Well, it's Labor Day weekend. I finally have a little bit of time to work on this amplifier. This is going to pose a little bit of a different challenge than the tuner did. When it comes to mounting these bulbs, the plate on the back here is actually part of the chassis itself. It comes up. I've got those two little holes drilled out in it, cut out whatever, to hold the bulbs. And it's also screwed behind the display panel as well. So this is going to present a little bit of a challenge. Unfortunately, I've been looking at this thing, and I don't think there's any other way to do this except to just bend that plate backwards a little bit and then figure out an elaborate way to mount these bulbs. Now I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to use two bulbs for this. I don't think there's going to be enough room, enough light shine I should say, for just one bulb in the middle. Yeah, maybe this one, since I have to bend this back, maybe I can use those fuse holders for this to mount those bulbs, but I'll figure something out here. So I bent the bracket down and kind of angled it back, and that's going to line up really great. That's going to work out great. This is actually really soft metal. But these fuse holders have a little screw hole in the middle of them, so I can attach it right there to where the bulbs would go with a screw like that, and it'll line up perfectly. It's perfectly centered over the where the bulb fits into that diffuser, this side of the diffuser anyway, that pulls that light down across the face. So that's, in fact, where I've got it bent, that's going to be absolutely perfect. It's close to the plastic there, the clear plastic, but it's not too close that I can't get a bulb in there. So that'll make for easy changing of the bulbs if necessary. And given the spacing on here, I can probably just put the diodes probably in between here somehow. Do that, or just run these together. Just solder the tabs together. I'm not sure there's enough room. No, there's not. I'm going to have to run a wire between them, but that's what it's going to look like, and that will be perfect. Okay, so I've got this thing wired up and everything's working. I just want to go over how I wired this. So this is your diagram right here for a rectifier. So you've got your diodes right here, negative and positive, and your AC goes in the middle. And this is the way I wired the diodes in the first video on the tuner, and soldered these to the back in this configuration to the back of the actual LED bulb itself. Now this diagram, I had to draw this out so I could get an idea of what I was going to do. The AC, there's two studs that come off of the board on the bottom here. That's these little circles right here. And each bulb comes off of these terminals, these studs right here. So you got one wire per bulb going to each stud. So you've got two wires coming off of this stud, two wires coming off of this stud, provided you cut the wires off at the bulb itself, which is the way I would recommend if you're going to do something like this. So one set of diodes is going to the positive side of the bulb. One wire from this terminal is going to one diode. The other wire from the other terminal is going to this diode. And the same is on the negative side here. One wire on this side is going to this diode. One wire on this side is going to this diode. So how does that look soldered up? So this is how they look like on here. This side I made negative, this side I made positive. The diodes here, you can see the line on this lead, on both these diodes, is going towards the positive, and the line on these diodes, on these leads here, going to negative. So one diode is going to this terminal. The other diode is going to that terminal, up to here. Likewise, go all the way over here. Same thing is true right here. So what I was going to do initially was I was just going to run a wire between these two soldering points, and I jumpered across there initially and turned it on to see what it looked like, and these were awfully dim. There just wasn't enough voltage going through that way, putting these in series. So I went ahead and just put them in parallel, and when I did that without the resistors here, I was measuring nearly 16 volts, 15.8 something or another at the bulb itself, and these were very bright. So I don't know how long these bulbs would last running at that voltage, but they'd probably do okay with that. I think that's probably the maximum these bulbs can probably safely handle. Wouldn't go any more than that. So again, we've got 390 ohm resistors here. I ran one from the positive over to the positive of this bulb, and one from the negative on this bulb over to the negative over here. So now, turn that on. I'm going to have to double check, compare it to the tuner, but it should be the same brightness. It's measuring about 10.38 volts at each bulb. So that's how you do it on this, at least how I did it anyway. And it seems to be working out just fine. But that looks pretty good, I think. And the display is evenly lit across there. It's a lot more even now than it was before. So the one thing, just got to keep in mind to keep these leads from touching each other here, or touching the little terminals down here, but I've got them spaced apart pretty good, so that's not going to be a problem. The one thing, it is a little, it could be an issue, if not maybe handle a little bit better than I did here. I should have probably put some heat shrink tubing over the diodes themselves, only because they could potentially come in contact with the plate back here if they're bent over, and they could short out. So I'm going to probably just put a little piece of electrical tape around here, maybe around, I don't know, I'll probably just wrap some around the leads themselves there, and same thing over here. Nothing terribly fancy, but just enough so that in case for whatever reason these things decide to touch, I don't think they're going to. I mean, they shouldn't move sitting there, but you know, they're pretty stiff. I don't really think there's anything to worry about, but I think I'll just put a little piece of electrical tape around there, and just for good measure. So it looks nice and nice and bright, nice and steady. It's not flickering, none of that stuff. So I think a little piece of tape on there, can button it up, and we'll call this thing good. And the last thing to get to is the equalizer. And I imagine equalizer is going to be the same thing as a tuner. I can't imagine having more than one bulb in it, but I guess we'll see when we get into it. Well, let's go ahead and get this video wrapped up and get this bulb replaced in this equalizer. I've never actually had this thing taken apart, believe it or not. I need to clean the sliders on here. I'm going to shoot some that deoxide fader lube that I've got on these. A little stiff over here. The other side's not too bad, but this side's kind of stiff. I don't recall ever taking this thing apart. I'm guessing this is basically the same chassis as the tuner. I bet this is just a single bulb, probably the exact same arrangement as the tuner is, so I'm going to probably end up using hot glue on this, but we'll find out. Maybe there's not even a bulb behind here, I don't know. I'm sure there is, though. So let's get this thing taken apart and find out what's inside of it. So here's what's inside of this thing. A little tiny itty bitty power transformer back there. Tiny little circuit board and a whole heck of a lot of space. Yeah, that's all that's in there. I figured there wouldn't be a whole lot in here. It's just an equalizer. These things don't usually have too many components. So you see the bulb right here held in with this bracket. So I'm going to do the same thing with this that I did with the tuner. I'm just going to hot glue a bulb to the back of this and solder those rectifying diodes to the back of the bulb in the same fashion. And this should be quick and easy. Isn't that just such a tiny cute little bulb? One of them little grain of wheat bulbs. Isn't he just so cute? Alright. And there's going to be plenty of room here. There's some white plastic. The back side of this is white. I hope the light's not going to show through that. That could present a challenge. I don't know. We'll find out though. It's a little bit of dirt and dust in here. Yeah, there's a tiny little spider down in here. You kind of see him. I think he's probably dead, I'm sure. I don't think he would have caught a whole lot building the web in here. We'll get him taken care of. Get him the hell out of here. Alright, time for the big test. And we have light. Yeah. Should work just fine. Center it in there and glue that sucker up. And call this one done. should take care of that. Let's plug it in and see what it looks like. It's gonna be awesome. Maybe. There you go. A nicely lit up display on there. Alright. Get these controls cleaned. Button this thing up and call it done.
El Top Regional con JC Cuevas. Es increíble ver las muestras de cariño, de amor para con el Divo de Juárez y cómo México... I don't believe it's been slitting my throat aside.
Well, I'm going to call this project done. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again right here on the Wayback Tech channel. Peace out, everyone.